once again, we're back in action. It's Volleyball Dads Podcast. What up,
Yeah.
Dane?
What's going on, Spurs?
All right. Well, we here, as you know, you're two amigos, two friends in
Yeah,
volleyball life as well. Um, Thank you all for continuing to be a part of this journey we have here. Those who have, expressed interest and come on show, we still want you. We're going to figure out a time to get you in, but
yeah.
we're able to go all over the country now. So no matter where you're at, we can find you and find a slot for you as well.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, for once again, Volleyball Dads Podcast at gmail.com.
Yep.
As Damon and I always have great things to talk about this time, we have a very special guest. She's actually been part of the show before, but she's way more educated, especially on this topic than we are
Absolutely.
as well. So it's Ms. Vincincia Wright.
You got
You
it.
know, I have challenges. Yeah, you know, I have challenges with these names, and I don't know why, but a name is difficult as mine. But I do respect that as well. So, welcome, Miss Vincicia. Right. So, I want you to tell everybody about your background, but I want to set this up with the fact that this segment is going to be a little bit focused on mental awareness, I call it, or mental health, or
Yep.
mental just. I don't know the right terms with, because I think it's so important
Absolutely.
that people have these outlets, and Damon
Yep.
and I talk about this, to
Mhm.
continue to grow in
Yeah.
his
Mhm.
development, and even to myself, where I, are doing investments and finding some way to have counseling or therapy or someone
Yeah.
to talk to, and that's really what this is. This podcast has been some of that, right, Dane, for us
Absolutely.
as well.
It's
So,
been
Ms. Wright,
very
you want to be able to
therapeutic.
share. Right, very therapeutic. So, Ms. Wright, we want us to be able to share the stage with you, but tell everybody once again who you are, your credentials,
Mhm.
and then we'll dive on into what I believe will be a very healthy discussion.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for having me. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys and being able to talk about something that is very important. And just like you said, my name is Vincincia, right? Everybody calls me V, so that is totally fine. I hail from the little big town of Monroe, Louisiana, where I proudly tell people I am country, not Cajun. So that is where I am from. And
Okay.
one thing about me is that I was an educator prior to becoming a licensed professional counselor. I was an educator for 20 years.
Okay.
And what drove me to this path allowed was what God allowed to open for me along the way to be able
Right.
to help others. And so I started off as a teacher. I moved into advanced academic specialist, and I immediately knew that the kids that I was working with, I did not have the proper skill set to help them because these were advanced kids or kids taking advanced level courses. And what their needs were not about what course I should take or which teacher would be best for me. It was about their social and emotional development. It was about helping them cope with the stressors that they were putting on themselves, especially in a very competitive and advanced level learning environment. And so I went back to school, got my master's degree in counseling and development, became a school counselor. And then while in that role as a lead counselor, I continued with the nudge that what I was doing, although be it great, and I loved the campus that I was at, the impact on mental health was not what I was able to do in a school setting. And so, again, God opened another door for me and led me into working private practice. And now I'm the director of school based services for Clear Hope Counseling and Wellness, where I help different school districts actually provide therapeutic services for tier 3 needs for different campuses in the Houston area. And I also see other clients on my own. I see individuals 13 and up, as well as couples for myriad of different reasons.
Awesome.
Wow,
Yeah. You are a
impressive
godsend
background.
to many.
Right. Impressive, especially for our audience as well,
Yeah.
because as we had talked about in prior session, but also as we look, Damon and I both have obviously kids that not only are in college but both of them also are. We have a kid that are playing volleyball, just competitive volleyball. This sport just growing so fast,
Yeah.
and we've seen throughout the development of these young ladies how the pressure, the intense pressure around competitive sports has been,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes from all angles, right? I believe, and so
Mm-hmm.
in certain sense, this is always therapeutic, and I think parents and others listening, and players are listening, and coaches, want to just be able to kind of throw scenarios or just see how should kids just kind of handle these
Mm-hmm.
multiple things coming at you from expectation of playing well, expectation of winning, coaches at different levels, on you. And then the whole recruiting process when you're talking about high school, but when you're in college, the competition level, and then what has NIL done. So a whole bunch of things we can talk about, I think,
Right.
as well. And the transfer portal, right? Which is,
Mm-hmm.
I think, another big factor because you're always being pushed, right, to be successful. And we get that's what sports all about. But, I guess I'll just start with a question and just asking, how should, and I'll start with, I would say kids, probably in high school at this stage. I'll ask about them first.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing out there that is the, I don't say root cause, but what are you seeing out there that is impacting a lot of young players today that you may have not seen in the past? So what's happening out there?
The main thing, or one of the main things that I see a lot, is social media, and it's how
Uh,
social
I,
media
I knew you were
plays.
gonna say that. So be like social media, but go ahead.
Social media. And I don't want to bash social media, right? Social
Yeah.
media has its definite ups when it talks about bringing communities together and connection, but there's also a downside of it. And there's a comparison culture that is derived through social media. And when you add that on top of the competitive nature already of sports, it can be a very stressful time for these kids. They are indeed living in a time that is very different from what we had to endure. Now,
Absolutely.
the circumstances may be similar, but the
Hmm.
way that they are experiencing it is very different. It's very in your face.
Yeah.
It's very everything that they do can
Immediate.
be seen,
Yeah. In
right?
real
And it's
time. Yeah.
seen immediately. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pressure to be perfect. There's a lot of pressure to make sure that they are the best, that my highlight reels outshine this other person's highlight reels, that I am seen, that I am somebody who is worthy of whatever their next step is that they want to get to. So there's a lot of pressure that is put on kids in competitive sports, as well as the increase of anxiety that comes with it sometimes.
How would you suggest, you mentioned anxiety, and that's very pivotal in this space because
Mm-hmm.
kids sometimes have a propensity to put that pressure on themselves to be perfect and they're not. And I think that's where a lot of times the parents also got to be realistic and not like have those expectations. Like, hey, you got to take the good with the bad. The roadmap in life is not straight.
Right.
It's ebbs and flows and it's different peaks and valleys. And with that being said, you know, while like you mentioned, social media it has its place. It has its good components, but it also has the bad components. And because things are immediate, the pressure of when someone says negative things that from coming from people that they don't even know. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
someone has a bad game, like, oh, you suck now, and so how do you kind of tell young athletes in general, how do they kind of navigate through that and not allow that to affect their data? I know it's easier said than done,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's different, but to not internalize those type of things and especially coming from a stranger,
Mm-hmm.
not someone that cares about them anyway, more so they're probably worried about their parlay, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, just kind of like, I mean, what advice would you give to young athletes? Because a lot of times I think it's so clear, they don't like to come forward and talk to someone
Mm-hmm.
because they're worried about what someone may think or how it will
Mm-hmm.
look. They may
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, they think I'm crazy because I'm going to see someone. And it's really you just having an outlet to just be free and talk as you wish about anything that may be bothering you or affecting you or just to vent.
Right.
Yeah.
No, right. And to piggyback on what you're saying, therapy isn't just a place you go when you're in crisis.
Right.
Therapy is just like you're saying, therapy is a time where you can go and express yourself in a non-judgmental environment and be able to get and learn about different perspectives other than your own. And that's a lot of the times critical, especially for our adolescents who we know whose brains and prefrontal cortexes are not quite developed yet. So allowing them the opportunity to understand different perspectives is key. Now, to get back to your point about what we can do to help minimize that, two things immediately come to mind, and that's teaching our kids digital literacy and understanding critical thinking skills better. When we talk about digital literacy, that's helping them understand how algorithms work and helping them understand that these algorithms are designed to be just like your brain. Just like your brain can be very tunnel vision. If you tell yourself one thing, that is all that you will see evidence for. And those algorithms are designed that way. So if you click on one thing, if you start commenting on something, you're going to see the exact same thing over and over again. So if the theme is you suck, you're going to see videos that help
Right.
provide that evidence over and over again that you suck. Now, is that the reality or the truth? Absolutely not. But that's how the algorithm is designed. And we have to get our kids a better understanding so they allow themselves to be more controlled than allowing social media to control them and their emotions. And then the next part that comes along with that is critical thinking and making sure they understand. Just like you said, these are people who have no idea who you are,
Right.
have probably never played competitive sports a day in their life, and are feeling that they have the right to comment and say whatever they want to say. And at the same time, they do.
Yeah.
But you are also in control of how you accept it and how you interpret things. I had my 16-year-old recently read The Four Agreements. It's an amazing book if you haven't read it before, but it really talks about four different things you need to be able to do for yourself. And one of those things is not taking things personal. And that's a big and crucial aspect of sports, and especially kids understanding how to take in feedback and how to take coaching, period.
Mhm.
And that's about not taking things personally and making sure that they recognize that sometimes people will have things to say that don't mean anything. And
Right.
that you're relying on the people in your life who love you, who care about you, and who know who you are to help catapult you where you need to go. And so parents also have to understand that their babies need a soft place to land and they don't need a coach at home too sometimes.
And so that's the biggest challenge. And I don't mean to kind
Mhm.
of
Oh
dominate
no,
the
you're fine.
conversation, but and not for me. Like I think this platform has allowed us, and just the years of watching and understanding, we definitely look at it from a different vantage point and a different
Mhm.
perspective. Um, and it kind of enables you to process things and look at things from truly what they are. Everyone wants what's best for their kid, and then there's the things that you don't see, the work that they put in to become what you need them to be, or
Mhm.
or how the journey looks. And you never know when your breakthrough is going to occur. And I think
Absolutely.
that the impatience of it, and sometimes the pressure from the parents kind of spills over into the kid. And
Mm.
one of the things I learned is just fall back, and like if they want it, they'll initiate it. And it can't be, me initiating. And
Right.
so long time ago, I removed myself and allowed, hey, if you want something, you come to me and then I'll make sure you get there. But
Right.
as far as me saying, hey, you need to get up and do this or do that, that's where I think the pressure of I don't want to fail my parent, where it's not
Mhm.
about me or her mother, you know what I mean? So I definitely remove and I think more parents should try and kind of, I mean, everyone's different, but think that way. Um, let their kid kind of say, hey, this is what I want to do. And then you kind of help, push them in that direction. I think that, so often parents try and live through their kids versus giving them the guidance.
Mhm.
Because, a lot of these things cost a lot. And so with the investments, and I get it, you want to make sure, but along the way, you're kind of harnessing that child and kind of letting them figure themselves out too. And you
Mhm.
let them bump their heads, but you start giving them the tools where they go talk to their coaches and they advocate. Unless they're being mistreated, then you step in. But
Right.
for the most part, whether it's about playing or whether about, oh, we're having this, because what happens is sometimes when parents get so involved and you're always coming to aid, they don't know how to think for themselves in critical situations. And it's always, let me go get my mom or my dad. And we're not going to always
And we
be.
go, this ain't a therapy session for you right now, Dan. Uh,
No, it wasn't.
so, but
Okay.
so let me get to the question on this too, though. Are parents pushing perfection? Are coaches pushing perfection?
I think sometimes our kids can perceive it that way. And I mean, and sometimes it could be true. That could be very true. I want to think about one of the things you said that was really pivotal is when you said about patience.
Yeah.
And that is something that can be lacking a lot of times. And the way we project that lack of patience can lead to assumptions of perfectionism. And I think that may be where the miscommunication comes. And so, modeling that sense of patience and understanding the process of it instead of focusing on the outcome or the end goal can help a lot of times parents and athletes stay more grounded and present in the moment. And when
Mm.
we're grounded and more present in the moment, then our competition levels increase, our performance levels will increase if we stay in the here and now. And so, one big caveat of therapy is learning grounding techniques and learning how, in the moment, how to stay mindful and present are things that we can be teaching our kids a lot better to do. But trusting and understanding that process is pivotal in helping them reduce that perfectionism along the way because nobody is where they're supposed to be along this journey. You're never the best you could be by the time you get out of high school, right? So helping them understand that this is a process and that as long as we see continual improvement and making sure they're understanding what their measurements of improvement and of growth are, that can help them stay more in the present moment and parents too.
Aspect that, and I'm gonna kind of throw this out there. I want to be careful with it, how I
Mhm.
say it. Um, Kids think that, or I shouldn't say kids. There's been a perception that going to therapy means that something's wrong with me.
Mhm.
Or, I hate to use the word like say, I don't want to say I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. Kids say, oh, I'm not crazy. I don't need to go see a therapist to talk about things. And, that's a difficult balance, I think, for parents to say it's good for anyone to get mental therapy or talk to someone that is detached from the household. But how do you get past this stigma? Or what's the advice you give to parents to encourage the kids it's okay to go see therapy and know you're not crazy?
I love that. That's a great question. One is to model it. I think kids seeing their parents actually going through that same process would go a long way. And
Mm.
understand that therapy isn't forever. I tell people that all the time when you come into my office, you tell me what your challenges are. We set goals just like you do on the court or in the classroom. Once you reach your goals, you go fly until you need to come back, or if you don't need to come back, you go and do life, right? The goal is for you to reach wherever you want to be. So if that goal is to help me calm down when I'm out on the court, help me to manage my anxiety better, those are things you come in with. So therapy could last 6 weeks for some people. For some people with complex trauma, yes, we may be talking about years, but generally it is something that is not forever. And we can do a lot by modeling that behavior with our kids and also being more open with conversations, even at home. So, therapy also doesn't mean you have to just go sit and talk to somebody. Therapy is modeling to my child that I know how to take care of myself. I know how to look at each of the different parts of me and care for them. I know if my head is overloaded, then I need a mental rest. So I'm going to teach myself and my child, hey, we're turning off the phones tonight. We're going to take 30 minutes of just silence in the house. No TV, no radio, nobody's talking to each other. We are just going to sit and breathe in silence for 30 minutes. And that's how you can take care of your mental rest. If we're talking about physical, we can talk about taking a break from physical activity. We can talk about taking a nap that way. That would be for physical rest. When we talk about emotional rest, how do you take care of your heart posture? What are you doing to take care of that? If there have been hurts or disappointments along the way, what do you do for that? So, just looking at each of the aspects of you and making sure we are intentional about taking care of those different pieces. It's like playing chess. You can't play checkers with yourself and with your self care. Each part needs to be taken care of and moved in its own individual way. And we can do that by modeling that to our kids, how we take care of ourselves. Therapy comes in all forms. Let's go take a walk and just listen to some music together quietly. It can come in all different forms. It just doesn't have to have someone sitting down and talking.
Points. I think like I said, Dane mentions earlier that you're right. This is somewhat therapeutic for us sometimes to get this out, and hopefully our listening audience, appreciate that as well. But I know we want to have fun in school, and people think, well, it costs money and time, and Dane and I don't know this, right, Dane?
Yeah.
That we spend money on privates
Right.
and all these other things, and people won't take the time to take the same care into their mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Dame talks about this all the time. It's just that having been mentally prepared, and you're right, there's levels to it, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And there's going to be people who are superstars, and there's going to be kids that are going to go. But when you talk about social media and all that, and then the pressure of just school on top of that, and then you don't know what somebody's home life is like. Home life is like as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of the observations you make in trying to manage those different dynamics? Because home can be
Again,
just as treacherous, right? I mean,
Well,
home can be a whole separate
well,
contributing stressor for
yeah.
sure.
And the funny part, well, not funny, but the part about that is you got situations where on the outside looking in, you could think that they have it all together.
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
And that's a lot of the perception. And again, I think it's because not, as you mentioned, is right, that not having the self-awareness. I think that's one of the biggest things
Mm-hmm.
because of what Spurgeon said earlier about when do you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I think any time is a good time. Like you mentioned,
Absolutely.
whether you're talking in the home, if you like a lot of people sweep stuff under the rug versus addressing it. And so if you're always putting a band-aid on something, it never heals.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You
You
got to let
got
it
to air
breathe.
it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
those are the things. And so I know you probably see it all. And like, as we're kind of talking through this, it's like, and this is for people that are listening, we hope that you kind of pick up on this and maybe if you hadn't thought about it, you will now.
Right.
And,
mhm,
reach out to Ms. Wright. Obviously, at the end of the show, we'll, leave her
yeah,
credentials and stuff where you can touch base. But, a lot of times, I think parents are worried more so than the kids
Mm.
about the perception and what things look like from
Mm-hmm.
a social media perspective or something like that because you're looking to the left and the right instead of in their lane.
Right here. Right.
Yeah.
No, you made an excellent point. And one of the things when we talk about understanding how we need to take care of our mental wellness as well as we do our physical, we've got to do a better job in normalizing. We've got to do a better job in doing what you're doing right here is just talking about how normal that should be.
Yeah.
Just like we go to the doctor for our checkups every year, we should go talk to somebody and just check in. As a therapist, I have a therapist.
Right.
There is no way I'm going to be able to do what I do well without being able to talk and vent and confer with someone else about what's happening in my own life so I can be better and be able to show up for the other people that I have to help. So we have to normalize it, keep having these conversations to help reduce that stigma that comes along with it. And we also know in certain cultures and certain groups that it can be definitely looked at differently. But the more we continue to promote and normalize and understand that this is not something you do just when something is wrong, it's almost like this. When somebody's having a heart attack, right? If somebody's having a heart attack in front of you, you don't get down and talk to them and say, you know, you shouldn't have eaten that fried chicken, right? You know, you should have been walking more, right? No, you're going to get up and you're going
Yeah.
to get them some help, right? And then after they're well, you're going to talk to them about preventative measures that they take to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Now, I'm
Absolutely.
not saying I want somebody to be in crisis mode, but it's almost the same way. We will wait until there is something wrong and then start telling them everything that you should have done. You
Right.
could have been doing this. You should have talked to this. You should have done X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z. So let's be preventative and normalize the preventative measures and allowing our children, and not just our children, but ourselves,
Yeah.
the time and space to make sure that we're taking care of all parts of us. And if that leads you to therapy, great. If that leads you to a silent retreat, if that leads you to sound therapy, if that leads you to making sure that you take walks in nature every day, whatever that is for you, find it. Don't just sit and say I should do it, but actually
Right.
find what that source is for you and allow that to actually help reduce whatever challenges you may have or distresses and allow you to take care of yourself in the best way and continue to normalize the thought of your mental wellness is just as important as your physical wellness.
Have
When
you
we
come
see the
across?
signs,
Oh yeah, oh
we
yeah,
tend to
Dane.
ignore them.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to get to your point too. How it's one thing, are people ignoring, or you also hear this thing where people just say, I didn't know, you know, I don't know how this happened and where it came from. And or is it that we're just ignoring signs because we are allowing our kids, and Damon and I know old school, a lot of stuff just parents will let us go through with blah 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 and coach. But kids get a lot more, I would say, freedom, maybe
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
flexibility, allowances that probably when we were growing up we didn't that wasn't allowed, right?
Mhm.
Or was schooled out of us, to put it in a nice term, but sometimes no one knows where that trigger point happened, right? What happens and what triggers maybe some of these instances that people have, and we see it at the collegiate level, right, Dave, that
Mhm.
young ladies are doing things that's just out of character,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we also seeing kids step away from the game
Yeah.
because of the fact it's too much. So,
Mm-hmm.
how
So
do you
when you
help a
talk
parent out
about
that's dealing with that? Yeah,
there isn't just one cause.
yeah,
Okay. There isn't just one thing. So we have to take that out because oftentimes we'll look for the one thing. It was this,
Yeah.
or he said that. That's what did it,
Yeah.
right? It's not just one cause. There are contributing factors. So when we think about that, there's going to be biological, psychological, environmental factors. And then when we add on stressors on top of that, those are all contributing risks that
Yeah.
can lead to possible crisis.
Yeah.
And then if we add in other components, they just layer on. So there's no one factor. But the one thing we have to incorporate to help reduce it is to add in more protective factors. And so protective factors are making sure that our kids know where they belong. Regardless if I'm on this team or that team, you know you belong here,
Mhm.
right? Helping them have coping skills so they can handle the stressors that come, making sure that they are aware how to take care of themselves. I know I have breathing techniques.
Right.
I know how to ground myself when my anxiety is high. Making sure that they are aware of how to take care of themselves can mitigate those contributing factors when we have more protective factors that kind of surround them instead.
You're kind of saying like almost being very proactive in saying, some of these scenarios may arise, and here's how you should handle it versus always being so reactive.
Absolutely.
Um, and I think a lot of times we are very reactive. I think parents more so just try and fix it versus giving the kid the
The
information,
opportunity.
yeah,
Yes.
to figure it out and work through things.
And that
Um,
kind of goes with what you were saying, Spurgeon, about, how we lived. Even though we weren't allowed to do certain things, we were.
yeah.
We had the opportunity to figure things out. Right now our kids are in a space where we have them in a bubble a
Yeah,
lot of times,
yeah,
right? And we protect them from a lot of things instead of allowing them the opportunities to be exposed and to seek their own resilience. And
yeah,
so when they're away from us and they haven't had the opportunity to be able to stand up for themselves, to be able to work through and push through, then you might see the fall,
yeah,
right? So allowing more space, opportunities for them to face things. Yes, continue to give all of the things that they need to be able to face them. Yes, but we have to allow them to face it. We have to allow them to be able to go through these things, and that helps to build their resilience over time, where they can handle things a lot better.
yeah.
And when
That's
somebody says something on social media, it's not going to floor me. I've
right.
been through that. I've
Yeah,
done that. I know how to handle it.
yeah. That's spot on. I'm thinking about so many different scenarios that we've witnessed, and it's spot on. Like I'll just leave it. It's spot on. Um, we try and manage the failure. And I'm not saying me specifically. I just say we, just in general. Parents have a propensity because of what you've experienced in life. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want your kids to have to experience those things, and you like, okay, well, I've made these. So what you do is you give them the advice, and
Mm-hmm.
and when they face those things, you know, you just don't want them to be crash dummies and just like, okay, you make a decision and like you're gone for 20 years because you were with someone and they made a mistake and whatever the case may be. And those are the things that I think parents worry about. The
Absolutely.
real, because we see all the time. I mean, everyone watches TV and specials and stuff like that where good kids in the wrong place at the wrong time, and
Absolutely.
things affect their lives forever, can change the whole trajectory of their life. And so
Right.
I think those are the things that parents think about when they're kind of trying to micromanage their kid's life, so to speak.
No,
I'm
that
sure.
makes that no, you're absolutely right. That can definitely happen. But again, it's kind of like that algorithm. We start thinking about the negative things
Yeah,
that can happen, and then we get that tunnel vision that I have to protect you from this. I have to
yeah,
do this. I have to do this. Oh, you can't do that for yourself. I have to do that for you. You don't know how to do that. I'm going to do that. So we allow our own anxieties, our own high functioning to enable lower functioning from our kids. And when we enable that lower functioning, that leads them to less opportunities for resilience, more increase in depression and anxiety, because when things are coming to them, as they will,
right.
they don't have the proper tool set to be able to handle it. So we have to make sure we're checking ourselves and not letting our high functioning abilities
Yeah.
to enable them to be lower functioning humans.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think Dane made a good point earlier too about. Well, I'll put it this way: we talked about this earlier. Like our, first of all, we're the classic way people are girl dads, right?
Yes.
And there's a different uh, because I have girls and boys, and I think Dame only has a daughter, right? So, uh, right, Dame? No,
Yeah, man.
anyway,
You
we
better
won't let
stop.
breaking news
That's
in.
right.
No, but I've boys and girls, and I just look at the dynamic of how some differences in how we raise them, right? And but I'll
Mhm.
focus on this because we're on the girls' sports. We talk about volleyball dads and here, so we do try to protect them. I think a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Um, from a lot of different things, and we want them to be successful. We want soft landings for them. We don't want to get hurt. Don't want their feelings hurt. They're in a team environment. We don't want the girls talking about you. We want you playing and not playing versus not playing and stuff. You know, And I know parents are struggling with that because they want the kids to play, or they on the right team, they want to be at a high level, but you
Mm,
know, you also want to protect these daughters that we have, and then just
mhm.
narrowing down that's a lot.
It is. It definitely sounds like you're constantly playing chess with that all the time.
Outside the home environment, we gotta live in with the other emotions that come with it as well. We're just
Absolutely.
trying to protect this environment.
Well, I just want to help both of you by letting you know there's no handbook for it.
Yeah.
And each kid, yours, mine, each one is going to need something totally different.
Yeah.
And so the goal as a parent is to make sure that we are able to adjust and pivot and be flexible as their needs are going to change. As they get older and continue to go through this process, what they needed 2 years ago isn't what they need from you now, right?
Absolutely.
And we have to be able to adjust and let go, right? And be able to allow spaces for more independence and more critical thinking from themselves while still guiding. I'm not saying hands off by any
Right.
means, but while still guiding, but allowing them more opportunity and space to be able to handle things on their own. So, yeah, it happens, but we have to change too while they're changing. We have to adjust
Yeah.
as they grow because now parenting an adult is a whole different situation. And
Oh,
as you do
different.
that, oh my, right?
Right. They get to college,
And
they're
learning that,
grown.
that's a whole different aspect too. And we have to recognize what we go through and the
Yeah.
grief we go through when that happens too. And also the grief we go through as they go through processes, because when they have disappointments, we have disappointments. When they have hurts, we're also going through those hurts. And so we have to make sure we're processing our own emotions so we don't continue to project those things onto them and
Yeah.
intensify what they're already going.
Mhm. I want to just pivot one thing to we talked about. What about, we as parents, Dana, are putting our young daughters into the hands sometimes of coaches a lot, right?
Mhm.
And we're having to trust these coaches that are dealing with also multiple personalities and different people, and get team harm. You got to do what's best for the team, etc. You know, balancing that with people who may not come home to dad,
Mm,
right? And I'm just using volleyball dads we have who don't have that balance or two-person household. I won't blame it necessarily on that, but
Right.
the coach becomes also part of their life, right? But then they have multiple coaches, and we see it too. And Dame, I think you even have a good example too, where you know in club volleyball more so than high school, right? Coaches are changing every year. When you go to
mhm,
college, you may have different coaches, or you transfer, you're going to have a different coach. How
mhm.
important has that environment? What's the impact of that environment? I guess that's my question. I don't know. Maybe Damon, you can clarify for me what I'm trying to say here, but just different having to release your kid to someone else in a sense for a
Mm.
period of time and the mental stress that they may put on that person.
The mental stress
I don't
that
know.
that person really that you're releasing to may be putting on the player.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Okay. I've seen that myself. My kid did not play college volleyball. She ran college track. So we definitely saw how that impacted her totally. She came from an environment where she was very coddled. She was very noticed. She was very much paid attention to. Her coaches in high school knew when she was sad, when she was mad, when she was angry, what game face she had on. They knew, right? And so she always had someone who was able to say, V, we see you. Do this, get it together, say this to yourself, do this, right? And then when she went to college, I was gone.
Mhm.
You were an entity, you were expected to produce. And if you don't,
Mm.
transfer portal, here you go, right? And so there was always a different pressure put on her there. And she felt as if, people didn't care, or if she produced or not, it wasn't good enough. Just all kinds of things that she went through. And I recognize that looking back now is because she did have really a great foundation, a great experience here, and didn't understand what that was going to be like going into the college environment. And so it's really important that we help prepare them and understand that dealing with this environment isn't the same. This is about production. This person is not your friend. And it is not to take things, say that you can't talk to them or tell them that you can't, be vulnerable in a sense, but there's a boundary that needs to be set because this is not somebody that's probably going to be in your life for the rest of your life. So we got to make sure we have an understanding of what this purpose is, what the purpose of the relationship with this is, so that you can be able to better pivot when things change. And just understanding that perspective a little bit better. And that's where parents, where we come in to help guide that, but allow it to happen. And so that they can be able to handle it better as those changes come, because they absolutely do.
I, I think that, and it is different. Like you mentioned your daughter, because she had that the whole time, it was a shock. And so you didn't have to ever address that. I think the exact opposite, if a kid has some adversity
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of touch on it, if they see it, they're like, okay, this
I've
is,
got it.
yeah. And it's one of those things like you mentioned earlier, you almost want them to experience some of that.
Just a little.
Yeah, it's some, yeah.
Yeah.
Because what it does, it helps them to be resilient in situations and understand, okay, like you say, it is a business, but at the same time, you can earn that comfort level. I think about, from playing, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, coaches would always gravitate. Well, why? Because okay, well, you're decent, right? So that happens a lot. Like
Mm-hmm.
even at the levels where their job and stuff on the line, they're like, well, I know I can count on this person. So they tend to lean a little bit. And so until you prove yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, they're guarding themselves. They don't want to get too close. And then if something has to happen, they don't feel any kind of way about it,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And it's so you have that talk with your kid because there's only so much you can get to know in a small amount of time. Now, the good ones will continue to recruit them, like
Right.
when they've committed, they'll continue to talk to them. And
Mm-hmm.
some are comedians and they're going to do that anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
then you get there, and if something happens to you that you can't play, or you hurt or something like that, you off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And so you talk to your kids about that. You give them every scenario when they go to the next level. It's like, okay, look, you get out of this what you need to get out of it.
Right.
So if you get your degree, it's not free labor. If you don't get it, it is.
Then that's right.
I mean that's really
Absolutely.
really what it boils
Absolutely.
down to. Like,
I think
hey,
that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
yeah, you
Absolutely.
take full advantage. It's like, okay, look, yeah, you're giving your sweat equity, but at the end of the day, if you walk away with a degree, job well done. And if you get a couple of coins in
Absolutely.
between that, great. But at the end of the day, this was a 40-year decision you were making. You want to make sure that you're able to take care of yourself when it's all said and done. So choose something that is going to enable you to do that,
Mm-hmm.
And so many, I think about it because so many guys I play with and stuff like that, I'm like, you nothing to show for it.
Mm.
But the
Yeah.
memories,
Yeah.
if you didn't get your degree out of it, what was your point? You know,
Right.
and
Right.
that's the way I've always been. It's like, okay, yep, they're using you, but you're using them too. It's a
Right.
win-win. We're making it a win-win. Like every relationship you have, it's a win-win. You make it like, hey, it benefits to both of us. It's not, hey,
Right.
you take, and that kind of like, no, we're here together, we're meeting. And that's the thing. You address it that way, and like I said, as long as they're not mistreating you,
Right.
because then you break down, you look at it, hey, it's about the performance. Hey, look at the tape. Because like that's the biggest thing as a parent. Like, hey, I know if my kid is sucking today,
Mm-hmm.
and I know if they're doing well. And I'm like, hey, if they want to talk about it, cool. Like you say, when they become a young adult, don't even talk about this.
Right.
You talk about, hey, what other stuff that's going on in their lives. And if
Right.
they
Right.
want to touch on the sport, cool. But
But I love you said relationships.
yeah,
And that's the biggest key right there. Understanding that you are in a relationship with this person for this
hmm,
time. And it is not all me giving.
right.
You are received. There is some give and take within this. And that helps them to be more aware of their identity within the relationship as well. So it doesn't get lost or misconstrued that way too. So that's an excellent lesson to make sure that they are aware. Yeah, this is a relationship. We're giving and taking within this, and you see where it moves on from after that. Nothing doesn't mean it's going to be forever. It could be just for right now, but we take that what it is for right now. Yeah.
As a parent, too, and that's athlete, right? We'll ask these questions like, when is it okay to walk away?
Hmm.
To say, I don't want to do this anymore. Um,
Mm.
you know, I think that goes to more kids' mind than we think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we've seen it too, right? And even at the collegiate level, we see it at the professional level, right? Of grown
Hmm.
people walking away, but we also see it at the high school level and club, etc. But when's it okay to walk away?
I think
And will
that's
we
a
become
good
okay with that, right? Dame be,
right.
me and Dame help us all the time. We would be okay if our daughter said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We wouldn't. I'd be sad because I couldn't handle nobody. I go cheer for the team, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean the local team. But at the end of the day, we got to be comfortable with. And because one of my kids did say, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore,"
Right.
and the other
Hmm.
one's still having a great time. Two different kids. You're right,
Hmm.
as you mentioned.
Right. Right.
But I guess I want to ask a question with the parents, that's out there maybe at this point and trying to realize when it's the right time to tell your kid it's okay if you want to walk away, or is it?
Right. I think that's a great time for to better understand values and what your child is actually valuing at that time period in their life. Are they valuing playing the game? This is something that I feel feels a purpose in my life, and this is something that guides what I do, or is this not? So you get to help them understand what a value is and help them decide if it is or not. And if it's not, then what you're doing, your behavior doesn't match it. And when your behavior doesn't match your value, that's where you get cognitive dissonance, this gray area. And then you get the depression, the anxiety, the lackluster performance, the lack of motivation. So you have to help them understand, okay, well, what's your value is your behavior within it. Doesn't matter which one you change, but you have to change one because you want them to be aligned. So that's where you have that tough conversation to say, what is it that you're valuing? What is it that you're pursuing? What's your guiding principle within this? And if your behaviors aren't matching, then you have to do something different.
The biggest thing is that the behavior is matching because,
Hmm.
again, sometimes the blinders are on.
Right.
And as parents, we will, if we're always going to the defense and everything like that, you have that on. And then the signs were always there and you act shocked, when, where there's outbursts and stuff like that. When the signs have always been there, you just
Right.
ignore them.
Right.
And I think a lot of times that's what's occurring in a lot of these different situations. The signs have always been there, but you've done a great job of masking it. And so, it's a shock to the outside people, but it's not a shock
Hmm.
internally. You just didn't want to address it.
Right.
I,
Right.
I refuse to believe that these are one-offs. If a kid has
Hmm.
been, you kind of see the spiraling and you see different events. Something was there and there was no intervention
Hmm.
when the things that were seen to kind of help get it away because of what we addressed earlier about the whole moniker of it appears something's wrong because we go talk to someone. And that's so not the
Absolutely.
case.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
20,
Because
30
it's
years ago, okay.
right.
But, because, but now, I mean, because again, corporal punishment was cool. And I never thought it was okay. I don't think it's okay to whoop. I just don't think it
Hmm.
solves anything.
Hmm.
But that's just
Hmm.
me.
Right. Right.
Whereas others, I'm like, I just think that it doesn't have the effect that's necessary. And there's probably some studies. I think
There are.
kids
There are
that have gotten
plenty.
beat a lot, those are a lot of guys that are probably in prison now because that's what they know.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing. So I'm like, no, that's not that approach. I'm more of the mindset, when everyone calms down, then we can have a discussion. And then we can take it a
Absolutely.
step further and then we go see somebody. I've been to counseling. I've been to
So
counseling my
what you
kids.
just described is
Yeah,
emotional regulation.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And so that's what generally happens. If this is my brain, this is my prefrontal cortex, my limbic system, which is responsible for my emotions, my brainstem, right?
Right.
When we are strictly in our emotions, your prefrontal cortex disengages. So we're not able to think, we're not able to be rational in that moment. So it's
Right.
important that you teach emotional regulation strategies so you're able to understand what my values are. I'm able to be self reflective and say, okay, I'm saying I want to go D1, but
Right.
I'm not going to practice on time. I'm not getting up and doing the extra. I'm not weightlifting. I'm
Mhm.
saying I'm doing two different things. So either
Absolutely.
I'm going to up my game and do the things that I need to do, or I'm going to say I don't want to go D1,
Yeah.
right? But I have to do one or the other so that things align. And then you'll see behaviors and patterns start to make more sense when they do.
I mean,
You
very,
nail on the head.
very good points. Once again, I'm sitting here just embracing myself with these things that I want to do, or other parents and stuff. I like I said, I think that this type of session, and of course we're gonna have you on again. By the way, we're coming close to our time here, but we want to, we may put you on a regular. We might have to,
I would love to be whenever you need.
right? But yeah, I mean, those are just so many things I know parents are dealing with when they, whether it's club volleyball, which is highly competitive, and wanting the
Mhm.
kids to be on top, but are they pushing their kid, right, Dame? And we talk about this all the time. Are you pushing your kid? You know,
Or is your
um,
kid pushing you?
well, yeah, 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 yeah. But you're right. I think we make a point about the fact that if your kid wants it, though, they're going to ask you, "Hey, can I go to practice early?
Mhm,
Hey, I want to do some
mhm,
privates, or hey, I need some extra training, or I'm going to the weight
mhm,
room." You don't have. I'm gonna watch film. You don't even have to tell them that. They do it on their
mhm,
own. So you're right. They're engaged the way they want them to be and stuff, and they
mhm.
can measure success and failures and they don't need you. Dame has already taught me, like, you know, don't talk to my kid about volleyball after the game. Let them talk to if
Abs-
they want to talk to you. So I had to learn that. Like I said,
Absolutely.
back to him being the therapist around here. I had to learn
Yes, I love
from
that.
him.
Absolutely.
But
I've got my head bit
that
off.
was one of the basic coping mechanisms I used. I just
Yeah,
backed off.
yeah,
They're already beating themselves up
yeah.
already
Mhm.
for whatever reason, what they thought they didn't do right, what they think you're going to say already. They're preparing themselves. So whatever you're about to say, you're not about to get an appropriate response. It isn't going to be, "Oh, Dad, you're right." There's going to be some defensiveness. There's going to be some stonewalling, a lot of shutdown,
Shut down.
probably some emotional flooding is definitely going to happen. So that is definitely not the time to critique a game or talk about performance. Let's let
Right.
it be for a little while. Same thing we talk about like with coaches, right? What's the coach's rule? You don't talk for like 24 hours
Yep.
because we have to let that settle. We have to do that for
That's
our
us
players
talking to
too.
them.
Yeah.
Some of them coaches start talking to kids right after
Oh
and go around
my.
route two, but that's a whole
Oh
nother subject.
my.
But
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. We got to give it time. We got to give it
that's
time
good.
for sure.
Yeah. Um, I have a couple of other questions. I don't know if Damon has anything else because, like I
No.
said, I think this is valuable and people get a lot of it, but we do want you to come back. But I at least have one more last question is if, and this is like questions for coming from everybody. If I
Mhm.
want my child or spouse to visit a therapist, how do I do that? How do I introduce that conversation?
That is such a great question. Thank you for asking that. The first thing I would tell anybody to do is look at your EAP benefits at your job.
Hmm.
More than likely, your job, your EAP benefits will allow you 6 to sometimes 12 sessions for free. This is a part of your salary package that is already there. All you do is call human resources, ask about your EAP benefits. They will give you a number, and then you will be able to pick a provider from that point. Definitely start there. Now, when you seek out a therapist, the very first one you meet may not be the right fit. And I'm always telling people, even when you come in my office, I may not be the right fit for you, and that's perfectly fine, but always continue to look on. It's just like when you go to your PCP. There are plenty that I've had that I'm like, this isn't the person for me, right? You don't just stop going to the doctor, you go and find someone else. So, again, it is a process, but definitely start with your EAP benefits. Your EAP benefits will allow someone to have those 6 to 8, sometimes 12 sessions, especially to address certain things, especially when we're talking about anxiety and stress. And so those EAP sessions will be directly geared towards providing you with skills and tools to help reduce that stress or that anxiety within the time frame. Now, if you need additional after that, or if there's a more deeper challenge for you or something that you may need to go deeper with, then you would utilize your insurance in a different way and pay your copay for that. But definitely start out with your EAP benefits. It is free, it is yours, and it is your right to use. So that would be the very first place I would start. And then if you want to utilize your insurance, like I said, you could go to places like Psychology Today to look for providers. It's a great place to start looking.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Now, how can our audience reach you? Give us your website or give us your email, give us whatever you want to disclose, uh, Ms. Wright, and we want to make sure our audience has a way to reach you.
Awesome. So they can reach me at admin, ADMIN, at heartshealed.com. You can reach me there. I'm also on Instagram at the TXLPC. You can reach me there as well. And I would love to be able just to talk or consult with people. Just because you call me or email me, I understand that you may not need therapy. If you even need direction in finding the right resources, I'm definitely available to help that way as well.
Excellent. And if y'all didn't get that, or if you still want to find a way to reach her, you can always shoot us an email as well, or DM us on X or Instagram, Facebook, and of course we'll be on YouTube now.
Awesome.
Our email address is volleyballdads podcast@gmail.com. Did I get that right? It's volleyball dads
Yeah.
podcast. Boy, I put the wrong email out. Volleyball dads podcast at gmail.com. That's where you can find me and Dame, but of course on X at vball dads, YouTube, right, Dame, and
Yep.
Instagram as
Volleyball Dads
well.
podcast, Instagram, Volleyball Dads podcast. Yep.
Yeah. So if you have any questions for Ms. Wright, we can forward her contact information to you as well as the number of questions that you have. This has been a very enlightening session. I still have more questions, and I know our audience does as well. So we appreciate your time because I know you're very busy.
Yeah.
But I just know that you have helped somebody through this session, and will continue to,
Yeah.
include myself.
I
Yep.
appreciate that. Thank you. I'm very honored to even be here in this space. And thank you all for continuing this conversation too.
Well, we thank you for helping these, kids out, these young ladies out, these parents, these coaches. I think all of it. We're seeing the influx of more mental health professionals on these teams, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's helping out a lot with just helping the mental psyche of and Dan can test it more than I can. I look at his daughter's travel schedule. I'm just like, Jesus, how in the world do they do it and
Mm-hmm.
study
Yeah.
and get
Right.
things done? Man, it's a
But
lot
they
coming at
do.
them.
Yeah.
That's right. They do. But think about when she gets into the real world, there's nothing that's going to be able to shake her. She's
That's,
That
been
is
through
true.
it.
those are
She's been
those are
through it.
definitely the analogies that we use.
Yeah.
And yeah,
She
and we know
will,
your
she is
kids as
building that
well.
resilience.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, Dame, I think we are wrapped for this session as well.
Absolutely.
We want to thank Ms. Wright for coming on, and hopefully, uh, someone out there, I know somebody out there, and the number of y'all will be helped by this
Yeah.
session we've had here. Some one more important ones we do. I know we talk a lot about volleyball and the ups and downs of it, and from just a volleyball dad perspective and craziness that goes on with that.
Yeah.
But these are just real life issues too that we all have to face, and in this world environment, this is always important too. So, but another great session. We appreciate your time, and I guess for V-ball dads, I guess we out, right, Dane?
We out.
Thank y'all.
All right, y'all.